it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, just to start, just want to give you a reminder of my social media platforms. The two YouTube channels, Vicky Marie Chats and Spanish and English with Vicky. TikTok at Vicky Marie Chats True Crime, Facebook Vicky Marie Chats, and X or Twitter, which I'm not sure how much longer I'll be on there because it's driving me mad, but I am on there at the moment at LearnVicky196953. And I am on Instagram at Vicky Marie Chats. But out of those, I've got to be honest, Facebook and Instagram, I don't go on very much, but I do have a profile on there. So, how are you? Did I say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world? I might have forgotten to say it. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Vicky Marie. I talk about true crime. I'm really going to concentrate now on victims of crimes that maybe you might not have heard about, because there are often high-profile murders, high-profile cases that get all the attention. And then there are lots of other cases just as important that maybe people don't talk about too much and don't really get much attention. And really they're the kind of cases that I want to talk about, because everybody deserves attention. And that is true of this young man, Kasey Anderson, who was brutally murdered by his partner, even though, you know, she was a lot older than him, double his age. And she was the one that was abusing him in their relationship. You know, and the reason I decided as well to do this case is so often I talk about domestic violence that results in murder maybe, or breakup violence, all these kind of things committed against women. And because it is rarer, but not non-existent, it's rarer for it to domestic violence to apply to a situation where the woman is the abuser. But it does happen, and probably does happen more often than we think, but it doesn't get the same attention. And this young man, he was a victim of domestic violence for quite a long time, for quite a few years, and it culminated in his death. And so I wanted to talk about him because, as I say, it's rare. And there'll be lots of men out there maybe who are experiencing domestic violence. It's sort of worse for a man in a way, because there's, they're embarrassed to talk about. I mean, women are embarrassed to talk about it too, I know, but not for the same reasons. For a man, it's embarrassing, isn't it, to admit that a woman is abusing him? You know, it feels like it makes him less of a man. Or, you know, and it's difficult for any domestic abuse victim to talk about what's happening to them. It's difficult for any of them, but I think it is especially difficult for a man. Certainly to talk amongst his friends. You know, women will, what's up with you? What are you crying? This is the dog crying in the back. What's the matter? I'm not giving her any attention, obviously. You're right, she's lying down now. So yeah, these are especially important to talk about, because men tend not to talk to their friends. Could you imagine a man saying to his friend, well, actually, you know, I'm a victim of domestic abuse? I think it'd be easier it's difficult enough for a woman, but at least a woman would feel like she could do it, wouldn't she? So that's what we're going to talk about today, this young man. And I have to watch. It's very sad. It's so very sad. This is a case from a couple of years ago. Just very, very, very sad. Like they all are. They're all sad. But, you know, this was a young man with his life snuffed out. He had a lot to offer the world. From what you can gather from his friends and family, he was a lovely person. He was happy. Before he met this horrible woman that we are going to look at in a minute, we have to look at her. But I've got to put her in the hellhole, actually. I haven't put her in the hellhole. I'll do that during the video. So in this video, of course, there will be a bit of waffle because this is the live. I will be chopping it down later for a waffle-free version of this video for those of you who prefer a shorter video and not so much waffle. Anyway, I want to say, first of all, of course, thank you to everybody. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for any positive impact on my channel that you get. You know, I get such lovely messages. It's so nice. That's what makes it all worth doing. Yeah, because, you know, occasionally get the old trolls. I don't get that many trolls, actually, unless I'm talking about Nicola Bully or Jay Slater, and then you get all the trolls come out the woodwork. It's strange, that, isn't it? But, you know, in general, when I'm talking about cases, I do not get trolls. Most of my community are lovely, and thank you for that. A very special thank you, of course, to my members. My members are the mainstay of my channel. Thank you if you're a member. And if you're not a member, why not think about it? We have an exclusive members live every Thursday. And also you get to use these special emojis and, you know, just generally to help support my channel that little bit more. Also, thank you to those of you who buy me Ko-fis or send super stickers, etc. All the ways you support my channel that helps pay for streaming costs, and the my Canva, which helps me edit the videos and the thumbnails, etc. And you know, helps me update equipment or go on location, etc. So thank you for that. But just watching, liking and subscribing is enough. Thank you. You know, I don't want people to think that they have to do those other things. Times are hard. I understand that as much as anyone. So I really appreciate anyone who puts a little bit more effort into supporting my channel, chooses to do that for my channel, because there's so many other things to pay for, aren't there? What else do I want to say? Oh yeah, hi there, you lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hi there, you lovely replay crew. Thank you for watching. And now I'm going to take the banner off and come into the chat. The dog's very vocal this morning. For those of you who haven't watched this before, that's Princess Tia, who's making all that racket. She's down at the moment. She's having a good little whine. She likes to make a noise. You know, she likes to let people know she's around. Let's put her picture up. So we've got an emoji of her. This is her, Princess Tia. She's a German Shepherd. She's a little madam. She's a madam, absolute madam. Okay, so let's go into the chat now and see who is actually here. I'm brave enough to come into the chat. Ah, hi, Daniel. Happy Saturday. Are you having a beer? I haven't got any beer, actually. Maybe later I'll go and get some beer. Hi, Lily. Hi, Blue. Icky. Hi, Icky. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Do you know what? I've just given up correcting because my my teclado, God, I'm thinking in Spanish, my keyboard is acting up, and I need to get new. I don't need to get a new keyboard. I've got one upstairs. I just can't be bothered to go and get it. Yeah, so quite often it comes up with mistakes in spelling. I've given up. I just don't even bother correcting them now. Yep, that's right. A big stigma, isn't there, against domestic abuse against men. Hi, Darren. Hi, Lily. So yeah, and there's don't worry, it's made me laugh, Blue. It's made me laugh. The stigma of domestic violence against men. Now, you know, we just yesterday I did a video about Lily Sullivan. That it wasn't domestic violence. That was a girl who was out and bumped into a 31-year-old man. She was only 18, and got chatting to him anyway. It resulted he ended up murdering her because she rejected his advances. And we were talking about anytime I do a video about these cases, we try and learn some lessons. I don't know, how can these things be avoided? I mean, this boy, I think he was only 17 or 18 when he met the woman. Let's have a closer look at him. So this is Kasey Anderson. We're going to watch his family talking about him. He was a typical young lad when he was in his teens, dancing, doing daft videos on to put onto his social media, etc. Happy, laughing. You can see he's got a lovely smile. And this, he lived in Croxteth in Liverpool. Now, I think most people, wherever they live in this crazy world, know about Liverpool because of being the home of the Beatles, etc. And where he lived, let's just have a look. Croxteth. Now, a lot of people might have heard of Croxteth because there were riots there, weren't there, years ago? But maybe you don't know about Croxteth. Let's have a look. Let's get a bit more information about Croxteth. I need to take that down so we can see it. So Croxteth is a suburb of Liverpool, Merseyside, England, and a Liverpool City Council ward. Although housing in the area is predominantly modern, the suburb has, let's have a look, this is Wikipedia, of course, has notable history, and at the 2011 census it had a population of 14,561. So we can see on the map here, can I make that bigger? Here's your location as far as the UK is concerned. Up here, right on the coast, really, more or less, isn't it? Yeah. So that is where we're going, to the Merseyside, to Croxteth suburb. It's been redeveloped. So, yeah, that's where this boy lived with his family. And it seems like he was a happy boy. And then, of course, he met an older woman. This woman, Natalie Bennett. And she was these days, I don't think there are sort of age limits to relationships, are they? The same as there used to be. Years ago, it would have been rare, unless it was a man. Older men quite often went out with younger women, but you didn't really hear about older women going out with younger men. I do think that has changed now. I do think that is different. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Age is just a number. But having said that, this is a massive age difference. I mean, you talk about 20 odd years, not talking about 5-year age difference, 10 year, or even 15 years, or even 20 years. This is a massive age difference between Natalie and Kasey. So he was just 18, I think, when he first started seeing Natalie. And I think the domestic abuse had been going on quite a long time, from what you'll see, what his dad says later. He would start appearing with fat lips, a bit like just listening to them talking, you think, oh my God, it's just the same red flags, if you like, as there are with, I don't think there's any difference. The red flags are the same. People coming with injuries, black eyes, fat lips, walked into a door, making excuses for the injuries, the visible injuries that they have. And this really is what was going on with Kasey for quite a long time before he sadly was stabbed several times by this horrible woman. Now, I don't know if alcohol was involved or drugs. She was very hard-faced, shouldn't say that maybe. Shouldn't say that. I am saying it. She does look hard-faced, but I suppose most people do in their mugshots, don't they? You know, she doesn't look like the kindest person you've ever met, does she? And yeah, she did it to this young man. She stabbed him many, many times. And poor Kasey, he did survive for a little while. He had 2 heart attacks on the operating table while they were trying to save his life. And he did survive for a few days, but eventually, very unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries. So so it went to court. She was prosecuted for murder, and she was found guilty, and her sentence was 18 years. 18 years. Why only 18 years? You know, this boy, I think he was 24 when he died, or 23, 24. He had years ahead of him. She took all those years from him. She not only from him, she took all those years away from his family. She took all those years away from society. You know, Kasey would, you know, seems like he was a positive influence. Happy-go-lucky, well, at least until he met this twonk he was anyway. And all that was taken away, and you know, his parents will never see his children. He'll never get married. He'll never have children. I don't know what he saw in her. Probably, you know, a lot of young men like older women because there's a fascination there. It's quite, you know, a part of it is an sex reason, of course. Just as a lot of women like older men. You know, I always used to like older men when I was younger. Of course, now I'm really old. To try and find a man who's older than me, it'd have to be like Rupert Murdoch or someone. You know, it's like, because as you get older, older men are even older, of course. But yeah, when I was young, I liked older men. And then I went through a brief period where I did go out with younger men. Now I just all the drama that you get from both ends of older men, younger men, or whatever. Now I'm just anti-drama. So what I'm looking for is a nice man who won't bring me any drama in my life. You know, I don't care how old he is. Having said that, obviously I wouldn't be going out with a 19-year-old or something. But yeah, I don't know. You know, a lot of taboos have been broken over the last years, haven't they? I say age is just a number, and if you fall in love with someone who's younger than you, that's fine. You know, if they had a lovely relationship, it won't be a bad thing. But really, you know, this relationship, it seems like it was toxic for a long time. Now, that's not necessarily just because of the age difference. You know, Natalie might have been toxic with anyone, whether they were her age or not. Or it may be that because he was younger, you know, he was more vulnerable to a woman like this. That's a possibility too, I suppose, isn't it? So, you know, anyway, let me know what you think. Do you think difference in age matters, or do you think it doesn't matter at all? Either way, whether it's a man and a woman with a man, or, you know, of course, we should remember same-sex relationships. Quite often there's age differences in those relationships. You know, what do you think? Do you think age difference matters? Do you think this is a question, this tragedy that happened, the age difference is partly responsible, or do you think the age difference has got nothing to do with it, and, you know, Natalie is just a psycho and it wouldn't have mattered? Or do you think there was a sort of a certain amount of abuse because he was so much younger? I think if this was a 40-odd-year-old man and a sort of 18-year-old girl, because when they met, I think she was 41, Natalie, and he was about 18. If it would have been the other way around, like a 41-year-old man and a teenage girl, I think we would have been, you know, thinking that the man had taken advantage of the girl. Do we feel the same about a woman. Did she take advantage of his youth and his naivety? And the sentence that she got of 18 years, is that because she's a woman? Why did she only get 18 years for murder? And I mean, it was pure murder. You know, it's like she stabbed him several times, and it was a culmination of years of domestic abuse. I'm sure if that would have been a man, they would have got a bigger sentence. Rightly so. You know, to me, I would be expecting a sentence of at least 24, 25 years in a case like this. So I'm quite shocked that she's only received 18 years life sentence. You know, I mean, obviously she may not even get out after the 18 years. But so let's have a look to see what Merseyside police said about it at the time. Woman sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Kasey Anderson. So they always say, oh, life in prison, but of course, life, there's a difference between life 18 years or 40. You know, sometimes life sentences are less than that. It's not life, is it? I think this is a very light sentence, especially in view of the history of domestic abuse. So a woman has been handed a life sentence in prison for the murder of Kasey Anderson following an incident of domestic violence in Croxteth earlier this year. Natalie Bennett, 47, of Carr Lane East, was sentenced at Liverpool Crown Court on Friday the 10th of November after a trial found her guilty of murder last month. And this is 2023. This happened. So she's a couple of years into her sentence, or at least a year anyway. So she was handed a life imprisonment with a minimum term of 18 years. So Kasey, aged 24, from Croxteth, was stabbed around 6:30 p.m. on Carr Lane East on Saturday the 12th of March. And despite being taken to hospital with injuries to his chest and his leg, Kasey sadly passed away in hospital on Friday the 31st of March. So yeah, he didn't die instantly. You know, his family had to decide. Sorry, this is going to make me upset, because when you see his dad later, you will get upset. They had to make the decision to turn his life support machine off. That is just the most horrible decision to have to make, isn't it? You know, bad enough what he'd gone through, and then they were the ones who had to decide. Sorry, I've lost my composure a little bit now there. So, following an investigation, detectives were able to prove that Bennett used a knife to stab her boyfriend Kasey during following a domestic incident. Now, the thing is, she wasn't messing around, was she? She stabbed him in the chest. You stab someone in the chest, you're going for the heart, aren't you? You know, she wasn't messing around. And his leg, I mean, and just a little word of warning, I hope you're never in a position where you think, oh, I just want to stab someone a little bit, but I don't want to kill them, and you think you can stab someone in the leg. A lot of the main arteries are in the leg. You know, the leg is a serious injury if somebody if it's not attended to immediately, because a lot of the main arteries are in the leg. It's a very dangerous place well, everywhere's a dangerous place, for fuck's sake. But, you know, when you can't say that she was half-hearted in her attempt to kill him. She stabbed him many, many times and stabbed him in the chest and leg. Kasey's dad, Graham Anderson, issued a tribute today on behalf of his family. We're going to look at him talking, and we're going to look at Graham speaking, and also Kasey's sister speaking. Kasey brought so much joy into our lives, and he will forever be missed. He was a huge part of everyone's life. He made everyone laugh, and he had time for everyone. We'd like to thank Merseyside Police for all their hard work, time, effort and dedication, along with their emotional support for putting his case together and helping us on our journey of justice for Kasey. We have repeatedly said time after time We could not have been surrounded by more helpful people. Please, if there is anyone out there fighting a battle with domestic abuse or mental health issues, man or woman, stand up tall and be your voice. Don't leave it too late. Speaking up is not a weakness. It is the biggest strength you can show. Please don't let your families go through what we are going through. And there he is, smiley boy. So Detective Inspector Ben Wayman added this was a vicious and calculated attack by Bennett that sadly resulted in the death of a young man. Our thoughts remain with Kasey's family at this point, and we hope this sentencing brings them some comfort. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone at any time, regardless of gender, age, sexuality, and I would say ethnicity as well there, I would add to that. And social class. Don't think that it seems to be more prevalent in what you might call the working classes, but it's not exclusive. Anyone can suffer. Literally anyone could suffer domestic abuse. It's important for people to recognise when it is happening to them, because it doesn't happen overnight. So this is the other thing as well. People will often say, oh, why didn't they just leave? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? But these things don't happen overnight. They're insidious. Have it start off with maybe, I don't know, just a playful slap or a push, or telling someone not to wear, oh, what are you wearing that for, or why are you going there, why are you talking to them, why are you doing this? It starts off with little things. It doesn't, you don't just fall off a cliff and you're in domestic abuse situation. It happens poco a poco, as we say in Spanish, bit by bit, and before you know it, you are literally in it, and you're thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of this? And bearing in mind that you're probably still in love with that person as well, and then there'll be time, in between the times when they're really horrible to you, they'll be really nice to you, and you'll be thinking, oh, they don't, and I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again, blah de blah de blah, don't know what came over me. And in the end, you just believe, you just don't know which way to turn. So it's not as easy as just leaving someone. But I think, why are you crying? Why are you crying? So I've got this soundtrack at the back, this German Shepherd crying. I think she's looking for a ball. Where's your ball? Is that what? Have you lost your ball? I think she's lost the ball. That's all that matters in her life. Where's the ball? Where's the food? Tummy rubs, it's lovely being a dog. Well, anyway, one of my dogs. So, the important thing though is to try and talk to somebody. If you don't feel you can talk to your family or your friends, we're going to look at some numbers later specifically for men, because and some organisations, because what his family have done is they have, dedicated themselves to helping people, especially men who are suffering domestic abuse, because it is a big, sort of untalked about subject, isn't it? So domestic abuse is a complex issue and can take many forms, including psychological, financial, sexual, emotional, and physical. There is support available from both the police and our partners. So even the police have got better with it, haven't they? They're still pretty crapo in lots of, depending on the police force. But I do think they've got better. And we want to raise awareness of the support that is available to anyone who is or has experienced domestic abuse or been affected by it. All reports are treated seriously, they will be investigated sensitively, and we will work with our partners to offer support and keep victims safe. We understand that every domestic incident is unique, and we will do everything we can to ensure perpetrators are brought to justice. So the victims of this terrible and unreported crime are protected, and their needs are put first. Merseyside Police would also appeal to families and friends to keep an eye out for signs that someone might be a victim of domestic abuse. Sometimes victims are unable to contact the police, and that's why it's so important that people around them who suspect something is going on can do it on their behalf. And then they give you these, this is Liverpool, of course, Merseyside, but probably most police forces nowadays, there'll be a way where you can report anonymously even domestic abuse. You can always contact the Samaritans. You can always contact, now this Paul Lavelle Foundation, we're going to look at this. And this is an agency that's been working closely with Kasey's family. And then, of course, you've got Refuge, which I think is quite a well-known agency, but would men think to go to Refuge? And Women's Aid? I think even because it's called Women's Aid. Maybe they should think about changing that name, or maybe they want to make it just for women. I don't know. But National Domestic Violence Helpline, these are all UK numbers, but whatever country you're in, there'll be organisations you can contact. Now, of course, I'm in Spain, in mainland Europe. It's a big thing about gender violence at the moment, because for years Spain had quite a high rate of domestic violence after the Franco years, and women didn't really have anywhere to turn to. So now it's gender violence is a big issue, and it's dealt with very quickly. And, that's women's. I don't know how it would be for men's. I mean, probably here in Spain, Spain's such a bloody macho country in lots of ways that, I don't know if there is about that as far as if men are being abused. But maybe I need to look into that at some point. But anyway, so if you're in the UK or most other countries, English-speaking countries that you might be in, there will be help available. And probably, I would imagine, you can ask for that help anonymously. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it, maybe you have got a trusted family member or a friend that you trust to contact them for you. Because it is scary, isn't it? It's very scary to make that step, because you're terrified of your abuser as well. So, domestic abuse, as I say, it happens over a long, long time, gradually, insidiously. And then you get to a point where you sort of feel like you're in this big hole and you don't know how to get out of it. So, it's not easy, is it? Anyway, so that's what the police had to say about it at the time. Now we're going to have a look at this BBC article. Now, this is his sister. This is Kasey's sister. My murdered brother hid abuse by an older girlfriend. We're going to have a look at it's just a brief clip from her interview. And I think it's she says, my brother was ashamed he was a victim. That's it. He was ashamed. That's the difference. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure some women are ashamed, feel it's their fault because their abuser will try and make them think it's their fault, won't they? But I think it is worse for a man, of course, because it's an actual attack on his own manliness.
Boys don't speak how girls do, whereas I think they have the laugh and a joke, but that part of it where girls are very, very open with their best friends, but boys aren't really like that. And I think he felt really ashamed of what he was going through, someone could overpower him that much. He just the words never ever come out of his mouth.
Yeah. So although they knew the family, poor Molly, I hope she's okay. I hope the whole family is okay, and that what they're having to deal with, it's awful. So he never said it. He just couldn't. He never talked to them about it. They sort of knew in a way, because they could see that it was having fat lips and signs of abuse. But he would never talk about it. And she just said the words never came out of his mouth. So, he never said, my girlfriend is abusing me. So the sister of a man who was murdered by his abusive partner says she believes he did not speak out because he was ashamed of being a victim. Kasey was 24 when he was stabbed to death by Natalie Bennett, who was 47 at the time. For fuck's sake, she's 47. She's a mother herself. She's got children. And she did this to this young lad. Honest to God, she is vile, foul woman. Kasey's sister Molly said her family had been at a loss of how to help her brother, who would make excuses for Bennett's behaviour towards him. I mean, it's just the same, isn't it? The thing is, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. The symptoms are the same. The way people cope with it is the same. The way the families react. So, like she said, her family had been at a loss of how to help her brother, who would make excuses for her behaviour towards him. I think he felt really ashamed of what he was going through, that someone could have power over him that much. And there she is with him. He's a handsome boy. That woman, what she did, taking this boy away from his family and taking his life away. So it never came out of his mouth, I am getting abused or she is hurting me. He would make excuses and say, I walked into a door. I mean, that's like, it's a cliche, isn't it? So many people that have said that to me, that I found out later were actually being abused. I fell off the bike. I was drunk. He never said the words, I am getting abused, she is hitting me. Even though we'd seen it with our own eyes, he would still defend her. And this is what makes it difficult. I know people like parents of women who've been abused. And then, of course, there's always a big bust up, isn't it? And then they go to their parents or to their family. And then the family all hate the person because they've told them all these things about them. And then they go back to them for whatever reason, and it sounds like this, it may be a man with a woman abuser, but it's all the same symptoms, isn't it? It's all the same story. Doesn't matter whether it's man, woman, or whatever combination, the symptoms are the same. It's very, very sad, isn't it? Many years ago, I had a student who were, a couple actually, and I thought they were very happily together. I did it, and I'm quite intuitive. I can honestly say I did not know what was going on with this couple at all. I had no inkling whatsoever. And one day the girl came into class, the woman came into class, her face was just totally wrecked. She said she'd walked into I think it was a glass door or something like that, because she was cut, her nose looked like it was broken almost. And oh my God, it's, oh, you poor thing, blah 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 blah. That's what she said. Anyway, it was many years later when they finally split up. He finally left her for another woman, for God's sake. And she told me, I ended up interpreting for them at the notary when they were going through their divorce, interpreting for her. And she told me the truth, that she literally, that what had happened was she'd been sat in the car with her husband. Really nice. This guy was a nice guy. You would think he was the nicest guy you would ever meet if you met it. You really would. I had no inkling that he wasn't a nice person. And anyway, I'd been hitting her for years, but there was that particular incident, they were sat in the car. He wanted to get some money out of the bank. He asked her what the PIN number was, and she either gave him the wrong number, or she could, if someone asks you something, you just can't think. And he just headbutted her. He literally just headbutted her. I don't know if he did break her nose, but made a total mess of her face. Because she couldn't remember instantly the PIN number. so that he could, selfish bastard, sorry. Oh my God. So you can imagine when I found this out, and then I had to see him at the notary, and he came up, hi Vicky, like, you know, I just looked at him. I just didn't even speak to him. You know, I just blanked him completely. I didn't say, you know, actually go mental. I don't know, but I just, the way he came, oh, hi Vicky, like, you absolute twonk, don't you dare speak to me. But, you know, we didn't know at the time. I only found this out later, and I literally, I say, I think I'm an intuitive person generally, but I had no idea with this guy. No idea, because not only he covered it up well, but she covered it up well, because she wanted to, you know, they had 3 kids, and I don't know what she saw in him really, why she put up with it, but she did. Lots of women do, and lots of men do. So Kasey from Croxteth in Liverpool was 19 when he first started a relationship with Anderson, who was more than twice his age. No, he's what do you mean Anderson? No, she was Bennett. God, they do get, this is the BBC, for fuck's sake, BBC. Can't you afford a bloody someone who to check what you're putting out there? So yeah, because it says he was 19 when he first started a relationship with Bennett, not Anderson, who was more than twice his age. Molly said he was very naive and he'd only had one previous relationship. He was so young, she said. This older woman who's got a lot of experience, she's lived her whole life. When you think of how wise you are then compared to a 19-year-old boy, that's where the power comes from. And Molly recalled how over time her brother became more and more withdrawn, and how she started to notice him change. You know, this is what happens, isn't it? He stopped talking, he stopped looking after himself. His hygiene went down. You know, it makes you work. Were they drinking? Were they taking substances? You know, he was 24 when she stabbed him to death, and she was 47. So that's 23-year-old age difference. I mean, it's not the age difference, is it? I mean, I'm sure she could have been 23 years older and they could have had a lovely life. Or do you think the age difference is crucial in this? Is that what gave her the power, like his sister says? He wasn't going out with his friends. He wasn't going out of the house. He wasn't communicating. He wasn't laughing. And then the physical signs as well. We knew what was going on, but it was trying to get him to admit it. We were at a loss. She described our family and friends tried to talk to Kasey, but it was crazy the power she held over him. It was a lot of talking to him, but screaming and shouting as well to try and get through to him. There was nothing that was getting through to him. His soul was completely lost. I mean, you know, when you look at him and he looks sort of all happy and smiley, and look at her. Look at her eyes. Oh my God. You know, talk about the eyes being the window to the soul. You know, just she just looks horrible, doesn't she? We were completely lost. It was like, what can we do? We're at a point where we were like, he's got to make his own choices. And it's true, you can't make somebody do something. Just can't. God. So on the 12th of March 2023 at 6:30 in the evening, police were called to Carr Lane East in Croxteth, and Kasey had been stabbed in the chest and leg and was critically injured. He was taken to hospital, where he died 3 weeks later. He was arrested for what police described as a vicious and calculated attack, and later that year he was found guilty of Kasey's murder, and she was jailed. Oh, look at him there. He just looks like a little kid there, doesn't he? He probably was. I imagine that's been taken a little while before. So Molly is now calling for more awareness about male victims of domestic violence, and urged men going through similar experiences to her brother to speak out. Don't be afraid. She said, there's nothing to be ashamed of if someone is abusing you. It's not your fault, it's them. Speaking up is not that you're weak. It's the strongest thing that you could ever do. Because if Kasey had the strength to open his mouth and say what he was going through, I would not be in the position that I'm in right now. And it's true. Don't think you're weak speaking up about domestic abuse, whoever you are. That is strength. That is strength to speak up. Gosh, so it's quite traumatic, isn't it? Just read it. God knows how the poor family are getting on, because just reading about it, and it's not, it's not a case. It's not my life. It's a case, isn't it? But it's still very, very emotional, because it is real life, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to look at what we were talking about before, which is this, the Big Life group. We're going to look at how Kasey's death is at least having some positive impact, because the family are determined that they'll be able to save other people from this horrible situation. I'm on the Big Life group in honour of Kasey, raising awareness of male domestic abuse. Very important. So at just 24 years old, Kasey Anderson was murdered by his girlfriend. His death has left those who loved him heartbroken and dealing with a loss they could never have prepared for. His family, who fought tirelessly to bring him back from a dangerous relationship, now fight in his memory. They want to ensure that no other family endures the same pain in silence. Through their grief, Kasey's family found the strength to share their experience, and it's a story that has since ignited vital conversations about male domestic abuse. Last year, the Big Life team in Liverpool had the immense privilege of spending time with them, listening to their story and learning about Kasey. We walked through his local park and we saw where he would go fishing. Sorry, I know I'm going to get upset. I know I am. Sat in the memorial garden his father had built opposite the house, and we visited Goodison Park, the home of his beloved football team. So that's Everton, isn't it? That's the Everton, because Liverpool is Anfield, isn't it? So he was an Everton fan. We cried, we laughed, we listened. Working with Liverpool County Council and the Paul Lavelle Foundation. That's a very important foundation. I'm going to have a look at that as well in a minute. We created a video documenting the story of Kasey. It showed who he was, his devastating death, and how his murder has impacted those around him. Let's just Google this actually while we're... Oh dear. Why can't people just be now nice to each other? For God's sake, what is this? Why have you got to be abusive, like domestic abuse? Why is that not coming up? Hang on. Anyway, never mind, I'll find it in a minute. We created a video documenting the story of Kasey. It showed who he was, his devastating death, and how his murder has impacted those who loved him. And this footage was used as part of the Liverpool Domestic Abuse Strategy launch, designed to raise crucial awareness, and it also aims to challenge perceptions around domestic abuse. Oh, here it is. Since the video's first release, the Paul Lavelle Foundation. Let's have a look. So, this is a charity that was set up in memory of their friend, Paul Lavelle, who was sadly taken from them in cruel circumstances in May 2017. After Paul's loss, a large group of us, we have a network of 50 mates. That's how sad it is, because he had all those mates. Anyway, we decided to honour Paul, set up the charity to raise awareness of domestic abuse towards men. So if you or anyone else that maybe you know is suffering, this is in the UK, of course, I presume, they could probably give you advice wherever you contacted them from. You can get in touch with them. You've got general inquiries, referral funds, information on male domestic abuse, recognising the signs, the reasons that males do not speak out. You know, shame is a big thing, I think, and lack of resources. And of course, yeah, protect their children, religious beliefs. They're in denial. Gosh. So it's a very interesting website and important. So if you are a man suffering, because this is specifically for males, a man suffering domestic abuse, or you've got a mate maybe who you think, oh, there's something funny going on there, you know, look, these are the symptoms: afraid or anxious to please their partner, going along with everything their partner says or does, checking often with their partner to report where they are and what they're doing, receive frequent harassing phone calls from your partner, they worry about their partner's temper, jealousy or possessiveness, have frequent injuries with the excuse of accidents, frequently have to miss school, work or social occasions, dress in clothing designed to hide bruises or scars, i.e. long sleeves. If they're restricted from seeing family or friends, or they rarely go out in public without their partner, or have limited access to money, credit cards, or the car. Now, I think all those symptoms could apply to men or women, anyone. You know, so these are signs. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, like, I don't know about you, but I think normally in a relationship, you would be phoning someone, say, oh, where are you? You know, especially if they weren't home when you thought they should be. And sometimes they, you know, I had a friend who was a phone, she was sat outside a pub, a bar, that she knew her husband frequented. And he was in the bar. He was supposed to be out shopping. And so she phoned him from the car outside. She was actually looking at him or watching him through the window. I saw him look at his phone, you know, answer it. Oh, hello. Where are you? Oh, I'm just finishing off the shopping. But he wasn't. He was in the pub, you know. So she just stayed on the phone, walked in and walked up to him with the phone in her hand. You know, sometimes people do tell little porcupines about where they are, etc. But that's not the same as frequent harassing phone calls, is it? Just phoning someone to ask where they are. Where are you? Maybe they were supposed to be home, you know, half an hour ago, an hour ago. That's not, you know, you've got to sort of temper it with normality. But yeah, this frequent injuries, I think when people, you know, regularly have black eyes and stuff like that, bruises, it's awful, isn't it, really? Because you don't know for certain. You'd also be, you know, you'd be wary of saying, like, if it was your friend or your family, you'd be wary of saying to them, oh, is your partner hitting you, whether it be a man or a woman, you know, because you know that you're likely going to fall out with them, you know, because they're probably going to say, oh, I've heard that said as well, oh, you've never liked them, and say, no, it's not a question of whether I like them or not, but I've over the years, you know, actually seen my friends' partners with other women, or I had one thing that happened when I was at work many years ago, and I mean many years ago, when I was working at Social Security in Russia, in Manchester. Literally, a friend of mine that had a boyfriend, a friend that I knew from outside work, and then I'm chatting to a girl at work. She's telling me about her boyfriend, and it just clicked. It was the same person. It was the absolute same person. She's talking about this guy. She gave me his name, what he did, blah, 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 where he lived. And I'm thinking, that's my friend's boyfriend. And then in the end, cut a long story short, because I was then like, God, what do I do here? Do I tell my friend? You know, or do I tell the girl? You know, who do I tell? And this girl was saying to me, oh, well, he's got this girlfriend, but he's going to finish with her and blah, 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 blah. I think that's my friend. Anyway, in the end, what I did was I spoke to my friend's sister, who was also my friend, told her what had happened. And she spoke to him and told him, look, I've heard that you've seen somebody else, like without mentioning my name, and you best finish with her. Otherwise, I will tell my sister. So he finished with this girl that I work with. And then the next time I'm in work talking to this girl, she said she's all upset because her boyfriend has finished with her. I felt like a piece of shit, you know. But the thing is, so he did finish with her. So I went back, hey, you know, so what I think, you know, I'm saying in a convoluted way, you know, people do sort of get up to things and do things. But, you know, that's, you know, if somebody's phoning, so like if you're out with your friend and all the time when you're out there getting messages and phone calls from their partner, where are you, what, male or female, what you doing, where are you, what time you be home, not giving them a chance, you know, to have a life. And I'm talking about constant, I'm not talking about one phone call to ask when somebody's coming home. You know what I mean anyway. You know, these are signs, aren't they, for male or female domestic violence. So anyway. Now, there's a video somewhere that we're going to look at. So they made a video. So these people made a video. Where's it gone? Where is it? Is it this? Oh.
Yeah.
He was amazing. We was born 2 years apart and we loved each other all the world, and he was just so bubbly and growing up with him was perfect if he had any word for it.
He was always fun loving. He was just such a happy, fun loving kid to be around, just dead smiley. Just got on with everyone. There was no one that didn't love Kasey. I've never seen someone go from such a happy person to dark, no fun. There was no singing and dancing. They weren't like mixing with the kids as friends. Didn't see them. Pushed the family away.
Then we started seeing them big lips, big fat lip, black eyes. They were out there where his eye was closed. What's going on, Kasey? What's happened there? And he'd just come out with excuses like, oh, walked into a door, didn't I? Or I'd had a fight with someone. But we knew, everyone knew it was there because... Right,
now for some reason I can hear this video, but I can't actually see it. So I don't know why that is. So, why is that? Let me try refreshing the page. Ah, there it is. Okay, let's watch the video. I'll tell you, it reminds me of there when he's singing and dancing. You know the videos of Jay Slater that we see, who's always laughing and so this was him before he got involved with this witch. This was Kasey. He was always dancing. He was always happy. He was just a typical teenage boy. And then he got involved with the 41-year-old witch. And, yeah, unfortunately, over years, was abused.
He was amazing. We was born 2 years apart and we loved each other all the world, and he was just so bubbly, and growing up with him was perfect if he had any word for it.
He was always fun loving. He was just such a happy, fun loving kid to be around, just dead smiley. Just got on with everyone. There was no one that didn't love Kasey. I've never seen someone go from such a happy person to dark, no fun. There was no singing and dancing. They weren't like mixing with the kids as friends. Didn't see them. Pushed the family away.
Then we started seeing them big lips, big fat lip, black eyes. They were out there where his eye was closed. What's going on, Kasey? What's happened there? And he just come out with excuses like, oh, walked into a door, didn't I? Or I'd had a fight with someone. But we knew, everyone knew it was there because...
Do you know, listening to this family talking is like, as I say, every case that we could ever cover, and it's about domestic abuse. These are, whether it be a man, a woman, or whatever, these are the familiar stories, aren't they? You know, trying to get someone to talk. Why has he got this great big black eye? Why has he got fat lips? Trying to help and feeling totally useless, really, hopeless, that you cannot help the person you love. Because they're just not, you know, because if they're not prepared to admit what's going on, what can you do?
Kasey wouldn't let no one do that to him. The dreaded day came where she stabbed him. He had 2 heart attacks on the operating table, survived. Lived for another 21 days before we had to decide about turning his life support machine off. Broke me out. I'll never see him grow up, have children. She took all that away. She took his life and she took his life away from his family.
Yeah.
Men need something to come forward to. You're not weak to come forward and try and get help. They could save your life, not end up like my son.
$18 years doesn't seem enough to me, I'm sorry.
Look at his eye, Josh.
Proper picture.
Yeah, proper picture.
It's got proper load to change.
Go on.
Go on.
So, you know, if you're in actual Merseyside, this is a phone number, but this Paul Lavelle Foundation, I think they would point you in the right direction wherever you were, because, you know, they will have, you know, details of other places as well, not just in Liverpool. So this is a problem all over the world, but it's an unrecognised problem. You know, I think, you know, it's bad enough with domestic violence against women. You feel like that's not talked about enough. Can there ever be enough? But there's another couple of things that I want to talk about that apart from this as well. Another one, things that are definitely not talked about and people don't know where to turn. Male domestic, you know, domestic violence against men is a massive thing that I think is not talked about enough, not acknowledged enough. That's why men don't feel like they've got anywhere to turn. And the other thing is domestic violence from children towards their parents. And, you know, it's been especially brought forward. I haven't been covering like the Southport inquiry because I just don't think I can face going through listening to all those details again about those little girls and how they died. So, you know, it's too upsetting. But I mean, I've been following it, but I haven't done videos about it. You know, a lot of people blaming his parents, but I think his parents probably just didn't know where to turn. You know, they were terrified of him. And, well, I say they didn't know where to turn. I mean, they did report things. But I think people don't know how to cope with domestic violence. of children against parents. The parents don't know how to cope with it, because also it's very difficult to phone the police about your own child. You know, you don't want them to go to prison. You don't know what to do. You think you can save them, but you know what? You can't. You literally can't, because once they start having mental health issues and start getting violent towards you, you need professional help. You can't do it on your own. You can't. But I think a lot of parents try and do it on their own. So there are two things that I think aren't addressed properly at all. And as I say, gender violence against women is bad enough, but I think at least that is talked about. But gender violence the other way around, against men, and also just domestic violence from children towards parents. There's been a few big cases lately. There was the case in London of, what was his name, Nicholas, wasn't it, who was going to do a school shooting, but not luckily for his mum, but she woke up and realised that he was wandering around with a gun, and she stopped him. So he shot her, killed his sister, killed his brother, went out to do this school shooting, but luckily was apprehended by the police. So, although that was a disaster for that family where they were annihilated, he didn't get to the junior school to shoot all the children that he'd been planning to do. These young people, so what I'm saying, these are young people doing it, and the violence starts against their family members often, doesn't it? And then it expands out, and that's what happened with that Southport killer that I'm not going to say his name. He went off and killed those children, poor things. But he could just as easily have killed his family. In fact, I think he tried on several occasions. The family were terrified of him. So what's the answer? That's what needs to be addressed, I think. I think we'll just watch this video one more time, because it is a nice video to remember this young lad.
He was amazing. We was born 2 years apart, and we loved each other all the world, and he was just so bubbly, and growing up with him was perfect if I had any word for it.
He was always fun-loving. He was just such a happy, fun-loving kid to be around, just dead smiley. Just got on with everyone. There was no one that didn't love Kasey. I've never seen someone go from such a happy person to dark. No fun. There was no singing and dancing. They weren't like mixing with the kids as friends. Didn't see them push the family away.
Then we started seeing them, big lips, big fat lip, black eyes. They were out there where his eye was closed. What's going on, Kasey? What's happened there? And he'd just come out with excuses like, walked into a door, didn't I? Or I'd had a fight with someone. But we knew, everyone knew it was there, because Kasey wouldn't let no one do that to him. The dreaded day came where she stabbed him. He had 2 heart attacks on the operating table, survived, lived for another 21 days before. We had to decide about turning his life support machine off.
Hey.
Broke me heart. I'll never see him grow up, have children. She took all that away. She took his life, and she took his life away from his family. Men need something to come forward to. You're not weak to come forward and try and get help. They could save your life, not end up like my son.
Yeah, bless. Ay.
Look at his eye, Josh.
Proper picture.
Yeah, proper picture.
It's got proper Luke chins.
Look around.
Look around him.
So now I have put this horrible witch in the hellhole. I'm just trying to work out how to upload it so we can see it. Hang on, maybe it hasn't downloaded yet. Let's see. Can I do it like that? Right, so I'm going to take that down. Let's have a look at her in the hellhole. Oh God, what an awful, awful woman, isn't she? And I'd just like to say, if you know, feel sorry for her family because she's got children as well. I don't know how many, it's at least one. You know, not much fun for them, is it? Knowing that their mum is a murderess. So, you know, I do feel for them as well. Let's see. So she's in the hellhole, this horrible woman. Natalie Bennett. Adios, Natalie, or at least for 18 years. I think she's had a very light sentence. She should count herself lucky, shouldn't she? But anyway, she's in the hellhole. At least for 18 years. Minimum. No, maybe she won't be released after 18 years. It all depends. We don't, 4 kids, oh my God. So we do not know, you know, if we went forward, like, well, she's done a year or something already. So if we went forward 17 years, we don't know what the situation will be then. Will sentences be stricter, more lenient? Will probation people, you know, when she comes up for parole, what will this, you know, what will the climate be, if you like, then we don't know. Or it'll be in 18 years, whether it'll be the sort of political climate that will look favourably on her, or the sort of political climate that will think, no, piss off, you're going to do another 10 years or whatever. We just don't know. So we can't look into the future. But for now, at least, she literally is in the hellhole. But, you know, she's got to live with it. It doesn't matter how long she's in prison, really. For all these cases that we talk about, does not matter how long they're in prison, because there'll come a day when they have to face, you know, judgment, literal judgment, you know, when their lives are over. You know, I wonder how they feel. You know, you think, I know, like psychopathic murderers, like serial killers, I don't know if they ever really worry about their soul, because they don't probably even believe in an afterlife or anything like that. But there will be people out there that have murdered people, maybe like her, that when it comes to the day, you know, that she knows that something, she's moving on to the next world, how will she feel? And whose face does she see when she closes her eyes at night? You know, I hope she's suffering some sort of purgatory, apart from the, you know, the judge's sentence and that kind of judicial karma, if you like, or justice. There are other kinds of justice, aren't they? You know, is she resting easy at night? Does his little face haunt this poor young lad who she must have loved at one. Well, you know, did she love him, or you know, what was a fucking 41-year-old woman doing, starting up a relationship with an 18, 19-year-old boy? You know, that is ever so young, isn't it? I mean, even if he was at least over 20, I don't know. It just seems so young, you know. And she should, you know. Anyway, so she did. Well, she did it anyway. She started that relationship, and they had a lovely relationship. And you know, people do make relationships work with big age differences. But it makes you wonder with this, is that what gave her the power over him? Because when he was young, you know, young men are a bit fascinated with older women. You know, it's an sex thing, isn't it? It's like, especially in these days and times, is quite common, isn't it, to see older women with younger men. Whereas years ago, you wouldn't have seen that. You would have only seen older men with younger women. So I don't know. There's a lot of lessons there, aren't there? So, you know, we worry about our daughters. I mean, I haven't got a daughter, but if I had a daughter, I'd be worried about her. But we also need to worry about our sons. You know, all our children, we can only try give them the best lessons we can in life. And you know, as I've said before, I feel like I failed miserably over most of that, but I don't know. I don't think my son would put up with a woman physically abusing him. I definitely don't think that he would put up with that. You know, but then why did this boy? Because he won't have been brought up to take physical abuse from women, you know. As I say, though, it's so insidious. It doesn't happen overnight. Probably they were together for quite a long time, had a great time, and then gradually this abuse crept in bit by bit, like just as it does with anybody. You know, domestic abuse is insidious, isn't it? So, you know, what's the answer? Just try and get people to talk, I suppose. What more can you do? You can't live people's lives for them, even your own, you know, your children. You just can't, you know, even though you might know that there's some abuse going on, you can only try and talk to them. But at the end of the day, you can't make them leave, can you? So, okay. So I say my heart goes out to this family and, you know, this poor boy. Hope he's resting easy now. I hope he's at peace. Let's have a little candle for him. Oh, I can't because my StreamYard is frozen for some reason, so I can't. Oh, that means I won't be able to. Will I be able to put the? Anyway, never mind. Yeah, it's frozen, but there you go. So thank you so much. I can show the photos. Show the photo bigger of him, and of course to the witch. I mean, she's a witch. What she's done, she looks like a witch. You know, it's like, oh, God. No, just the eyes are definitely the window to the soul, aren't they? So that's it. Thank you for caring about this boy. Thank you for listening. It's a big lesson to learn, but I really wanted to make it, to show, because I know most of the cases I talk about of domestic abuse or anything like that, they are cases where it may be a man doing something to a woman. So I wanted to show that it happens the other way. And I have got a playlist, actually, Women Who Kill. So there's quite a few videos on there. So although they might be in the minority, it doesn't mean to say it doesn't happen. So it's a lesson that we need to learn, not to what's the word? If somebody does confide in us, maybe a man might confide in us and tell us that he's suffering some domestic abuse. You know, we've got to know how to cope with that as well, and you know, let them know the steps that they should take, because otherwise, as in this case, it ended in the death of a young man. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. You may have noticed, if you watch this from the beginning, I've got a new introduction video. Let me know what you think. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Here's the dog now. She always comes up. As soon as I start saying, I'll see you really soon in the next video, you're there, aren't you? Let's let everybody have a look at how beautiful you are. There she is. She just came round because she heard me say that. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And may your God go with you. Bye. Ow. Ow, ow, ow.